Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all our viewers for a very, very special interview this evening. We're delighted to be joined this evening by our very special guest, Jimmy Gittins. Good evening, Jimmy.
Good evening, Rabbi Pinney. Good evening, Gila.
Hi.
So Jimmy is an ex-rugby league player who's going to share his extraordinary story and journey, who suffered a horrendous injury in 2002 that put an end to his playing career, and literally it was a near fatal injury, I understand. And he has spent the last 9 years rebuilding his life, taking on challenge after challenge, pushing his body to the limits. And he has also become a charity fundraiser, a campaigner for state of mind, and raising mental awareness in rugby and sport in general. We are truly honoured, and a warm welcome to Jimmy. Jimmy, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Our pleasure.
We've been looking forward to speaking to you tonight. And I wonder if we can go all the way back, kind of to your early life, early childhood. Can you tell us a bit where you grew up? Were you a sporting family? How you got into the rugby league? And was it always your dream to be a rugby player?
Well, if we're going right to the beginning as a youngster, I was always, by all accounts, this story is better told by my mum. I was the kind of child that was quite impatient. I wanted everything yesterday. I wasn't prepared to wait for anything. If they told me not to do it, I'd go and do it anyway. If they told me I couldn't do it, I'd go and do it twice. And that seemed to be my character, I think, even from a young age. Sport in general, I think, from my family's point of view, we were always involved in some form of sport. My dad was a very good footballer. We played a lot of cricket. He played a lot of squash. And I think it was about, I guess it was that thing of being involved in a team, a squad, which for me was the big pull. I loved being part of a team. And rugby league, although I tried every other sport going, and I enjoyed sport in general, I wasn't always very good at it. Rugby league kind of, I guess I found my footing with rugby league in that it taught you lots and lots of things: discipline, respect for even the opposition. You go on a field and you kind of want to bash each other up, but yet afterwards you all shake hands and say good game, mate. And you create friendships that way, and the lifelong friendships too, which is just wonderful. I think certainly rugby league, I never really had any ambition of being a rugby league player. I wasn't that good, if truth be known. I had a big heart, I gave it 100%, and I kind of always played rugby league and being thankful for the opportunity just to be able to play. I was never fixated on winning or losing, and that might sound bizarre because I was never that elated when we won, but I was never that low when we lost. I was just thankful for the opportunity to be on that pitch and be part of that team. And being around my friends and my colleagues and my teammates, for me, was the big pull.
Right. So tell us about life before 2002, before the accident, in terms of, your rugby career, your playing career, and, your activity outside of the sport, what you enjoyed, what you were passionate about.
Well, I started playing rugby league in the junior school, and then when I went to middle school, a group of friends that I met at that school played for a local amateur club, and they invited me along one night, and I guess it's one of those stories where you kind of go, well, as soon as I got involved with it, I just loved it, and I wanted to be part of it. Rugby league for me was all about, like I said, being part of that team and being on a field where you could potentially have a bit of a dust up with somebody and not get in trouble for it. So that was kind of all right. And it turned out that I wasn't that bad at it. At 17, I got a contract. I signed for a local professional club in Dewsbury, Dewsbury Rams. It wasn't the best club. It wasn't a top flight club. But for me, it was a professional contract. I signed on a document, a piece of paper, my name, and I got paid then for playing rugby league, which for me was just an absolute bonus. But I think I always understood that rugby league was never going to give me a livelihood. It was going to be something I would enjoy. I would love being part of it. But I was also very fortunate and very lucky that my hero is my dad. And my dad, all his life, always gave 100% in everything he did. And he wasn't scared of trying different things. And he was a car salesman for many years, and he got an opportunity to buy a building company, and he just went out and did it. And I mean, the bravery of that alone is amazing. So at 17, I signed a professional contract playing rugby league, but I also then went and worked and signed and actually gave my first signing on fee to my dad to buy some equipment for the building company. And we formulated together, and we employed people. And for me, it was wonderful to be able to. I worked alongside my best mate with my dad and other colleagues, and then at evening time I'd go grab my bag and go training 3-4 nights a week, and then play at the weekends. And for me, it was quite an ideal scenario. I was always surrounded by my friends and my mates.
So it sounds to us that building and being part of a team, working together with other people, was something that was incredibly important to you in your formative years. Is that right?
I think so. I think generally we all kind of want to belong to something or to someone or to a group or an organisation. For me, I found sport is one of those. It speaks 1,000 languages. The sport, you can get on with people from lots of different backgrounds, lots of different thoughts, lots of different ideas, and yet the one common denominator when you go on the field is that odd-shaped ball that you're all chasing, and you all want to do the best, the best that you can. And so I suppose it kind of brings every normality to the table. And yeah, for me, rugby league was just about being on that pitch. And like I say, it wasn't much more than that. And that sounds bizarre as a sportsman, because we always think we want to win. It wasn't always like that for me. If I'd come off that field knowing I'd given it 100% and really enjoyed myself, it's a win-win.
Right. It's such a powerful message, to give 100%, and whatever the outcome, doesn't matter.
Well, one of my big heroes is Muhammad Ali, and he always used to say, if he would have been a bin man, he would have been the best bin man in the world. Right. And I think you can, like you just said there, Gila, I think whatever you do in life, choose it as a vocation, choose it as a hobby, choose it as a profession, but give it 100%.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very important lesson for life and for the next generation in particular. Jimmy, I want to take you on fast forward to that very, very dramatic day, tragic in some respects, the day that you played and had that accident. If you can cast your mind back, tell us how it unfolded, what happened, what do you remember?
Well, I've gone back and I was playing amateur rugby league because the building company that I had with my dad, we'd progressed and we'd got quite a little bigger than when we first began. So I couldn't commit to any sort of professional training schedule. So I got an opportunity to go back and play with my local amateur club, which was a fantastic opportunity for me. I was going to be playing alongside my brother and former colleagues. And I remember the morning of the game, my ritual was always a chicken and mushroom pot noodle. And I had that before every game, no matter what I was doing. And I remember having that and thinking, it was a beautiful October day. It was a clear blue sky, perfect, a bit chilly, but perfect conditions for rugby league. And I remember getting to the dressing rooms and we got stripped. And normally, if anybody's played sport or was listening, you'll know that when you get your kit on, when you get stripped, your body goes into rigid mode. You know you're going out on that pitch and you know that somebody's going to be right good. I'm going to go at you and you're going to have a go at them. It's fantastic if you like that sort of thing. And 4 minutes into that game, my life got turned upside down, I guess. I took a ball into a tackle, into a defensive line. Nothing malicious, nothing untoward. It wasn't like anybody had done anything wrong. I think it was just a very, you mentioned before to me about a freaky accident. It really was. That's about how you can kind of sum it up. As I hit the defensive line, I heard this ping, this harrowing noise, and that was actually my neck snapping in 2 places. And if I'm honest, I knew at that point that it was something different, something bad, because there was no pain, there was no discomfort, there was nothing stuck out, there was nothing bleeding, there was nothing broken. Well, there was, but it was a lot higher up. And I remember just going down to the floor, feeling like I'd floated down to the floor, but obviously I hadn't. I'd gone down the floor with the tackle. And then I just remember saying to a teammate, am I laying on my arms? And he said, no, mate, they're at the side of you. I looked down, I could see my arms, I could see my legs, and I was a fit, strong kid, but I couldn't feel them and I couldn't move them, and that was the scariest feeling I've ever actually had. And I think that was the worry. The worry was just how severe it was because there was no feeling there.
So you were conscious, but you couldn't feel anything?
Nothing. No, there was no feeling. There was no pain, but there was no movement either. I remember trying to get up off the ground, and I remember teammates coming and telling me just to relax and try and keep calm. I couldn't have got off the ground if I'd wanted to because I just physically couldn't move. And that seemed to then merge then, that thought process. Then I remember getting a little bit upset and frustrated. And then I remember the paramedics coming and being really, really calming influences and trying to just relax me. And they got me on a stretcher ball and strapped me and taped me. And I remember going to an ambulance and I remember being in the back of the ambulance talking about numbers about C3, C4. And I had no understanding of what those numbers represented, but it was the vertebrae in my neck that they felt that had been a damage to.
Right. So you were whisked off to hospital. What do you remember next?
I was taken to Dewsbury Hospital initially for an initial assessment, where I remember a doctor there being really, really kind. Just the way he spoke to me. I remember him asking me how the game had gone, and I said, for me, not very, very well, because I'd only lasted 4 minutes, so I didn't really get an impression on it. And we were talking and kind of having a bit of a joke at the same time, which was bizarre given the circumstances that we were in. But I remember him making me feel really comfortable. And then I was transferred then to Leeds General, where obviously then the operation took place to cut me open front and back. And they went in and put a metal plate over my neck. I can't thank the services enough, to be honest. You know, even back then, it's 19 years ago now. But yeah, I'm so thankful for the way they treated me, the way they treated me as a human being, with real empathy and thought and feeling. And I remember when I came out from the operation thinking, I remember thinking for some reason, I'm just going to be able to get out of bed now and go home.
Yeah.
But the realization wasn't that. The realization was I was paralysed from my neck down, and I was going to be staying in for a long time. In fact, I was in hospital for 9 months, which is a long time. It really is. But it became the place of safe haven. Yeah. I felt safe there. Yeah. People looked after me there. If I fell over, and I did on a regular basis, people picked me up. If I needed questions answering, there were always somebody to answer me questions. And I felt safe. It was only, I had one moment which I don't mind sharing with you, where I hit a real low spot, and that was when the surgeon basically told me how my life was going to be, and it was very open about it, right or wrongly. We have lots of discussions about the way he spoke to me, but his opening line was basically, "I'm sorry, son, but your life's never going to be the same again. You're never going to have to sit up. You're never going to have to feed yourself. You're never going to have children. You're never going to have to walk." And I remember thinking to myself, I can't. That was the only time I've had a questionable moment, if you like. But I made a decision I didn't want to be here under those circumstances. Yeah. And when my brother came to see me the following morning, I actually asked him to put a pillow over my face and to kill me to take life. So I didn't want to be here under those circumstances. Now, my brother's a strong kid. He's my rock. In fact, he's my best mate today. And I remember seeing his eyes and seeing the pain in his eyes of what I was asking him. But he just said to me, "Jimmy, please don't think that way, and please don't talk that way." He did, however, say that if in 18 months' time I still felt the same way, and you look at it from me, which I thought was really good at him, the little bugger. But yeah, I mean, that was a moment of turnaround, if you like. Because I think sometimes in life we go so far down a dark hole that until we actually hit rock bottom, we don't actually decide to turn around and climb back out. And it takes a little bit of responsibility and accountability for us on our part, that if we've got good people around us, it's just about having that acknowledgement that you can ask for help when you need it. And that's the message that we try and portray when we're going out and speaking, is that, you know, there's always somebody there. But sometimes, you know, you've got two choices. You can either get up or you can give up, and it's as simple as that. And I can sugarcoat it lots and lots of different ways. Believe you me, I can. But that's what it really sometimes boils down to. And that's a hard line sometimes for people to understand and take.
Yeah. And Jimmy, what was the turning point? What pulled you through when you were in that low place, feeling darkness and desperation? How did you pull yourself out?
I think like probably anybody in that situation, initially you feel you're the only person that this has affected. You actually sometimes feel like you're the only person in that circumstance. But when I saw my brother's eyes that day, and I saw my mum and my dad come and look at me, and I saw the love for me from them, I knew that at that point it wasn't just about me anymore. As a family, with a strong family as well, I had to do something for them as much as they were going to be doing it for me. And it became a bit of a unit. And again, it comes back to that team ethic of what I was always taught, that you need other people in your life. You need people around. You need people to give you focus and direction and love, unconditional sometimes. And some of the conversations that we had were tough ones, very tough ones. But I can honestly say that knowing I was getting better, and it was helping other people then also to come to terms with things. My mum and dad, their son had an injury that was catastrophic, and I've got children now myself, and I cannot even imagine what it must have felt like. And until I got my kids, I probably didn't realise what it felt like for mum and dad.
Sure.
And so you become that unit of wanting to work together.
It's incredible, because throughout your talk, I've been hearing so much about your family, the power of your dad, of your mum. My first question to you, and it was all, that's your mum's story, and not soon after your dad and your brother. I'm hearing you talk about the power of support.
I think it's incredibly important. I think family is very, very important. Friendships are very, very important. But even sometimes, not even family, not even friendships, other people can also be massively supportive. I was treated with so much dignity in the hospital by people who didn't know me and I didn't know them, but they were, you could say, well, they were doing the job, but they weren't. They were going above and beyond the job, to help not just me, but other people that was in there. And that's really warming when you're in such a low spot, knowing you've got somebody there who's prepared to help you and give you their time, and above that is really rewarding, actually.
Yeah. Jamie, I want to ask you, during that period, that long, exceptionally challenging period of rehabilitation, 9 months you mentioned, what type of, was there a bit of a unit, a team spirit? You were with other people, I presume, in the ward. Did you give each other strength? How did you get yourself through those 9 months of rehab?
That's a fantastic question, actually, because it's a very, very important part of your rehab, if you like. There was many people in the ward. Some, I would guess, could give you a positive influence. Some could give you a negative influence. Yeah. It all depended on how they were looking at things and the place that they were at in their mindset, if you like. I was very, very lucky. I'm a very, very lucky person. I was very lucky to be put next to a young, I'll say a young man, although he was substantially older than me, but I called him 10-foot Col. And I called him 10-foot Col because the 7 months that he was in hospital, laid next to me, he never got out of bed, he was laid flat. But he was 10 foot tall to me, because every time I came back from my rehab, I'd come back in my wheelchair, I'd come around the corner, he'd be laid there looking, and he'd give me the look, and he'd say, how was it? And I'd say, yeah, we're all right, we're getting there, And then he'd give me this, just a one-line sentence of something fantastic. And it always made me feel better. And this guy never got out of bed, and he was so positive all the time. He always had a smile on his face. And that's why I called him 10-foot Col, because he really was, for me, he became a very, very good friend. So did his family. And I say that we all need influences in life, and you need good influences too. And he certainly was, for me, a very, very positive influence, as was the staff in there and the other patients. There was an element in there where I think that you kind of, whether you wanted to be in there or not, whether you felt you were right or wrong or should or shouldn't, you gelled and you became a unit. Again, it goes back to that ethic of team and bonding and units.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how do you look back now, looking forward to your accident and to what happened to you, and which was transformative and life-changing, in terms of if you, a friend of yours or a kid of yours, wanted to go into contact sport, would you encourage it, discourage it? How do you feel about it, having gone through what you've been through?
Well, we were at a training field yesterday morning at 9:30 with my little boy who was 9, and he's loving his training. I mean, obviously, COVID's been a little bit of a setback for him, as it has for everybody and every sport and team involved. But he couldn't wait to get back into a training mode, and he loves. Again, I think for him, he sees friendships building, get kids that he probably wouldn't have met through his school. So it meets other people around. And I think in general, the sport itself, I mean, when I look at my injury, I mean, I'm part of a group of guys, injured players, the RFL Benevolent Fund through Rugby League, which was formed just after my injury. And there's probably about 25 to 30 guys involved. So when you think about the numbers, it's very, very rare that an injury like this does happen. But, they're a fantastic charity and organisation that help us injured players going forward with different things. And again, they're always there for us. And they get us. They kind of understand where we are in here and what we need to go forward. So, yeah, it's again, we keep saying it goes back to these groups and these bonds and these units.
Yeah. And it goes back to the groups and the bonds and units. And also, I think what you're sharing with us is that it's the small things that make a difference. It doesn't have to be the mind-blowing big actions that take people can shift and help people move. It's the word, like you said, the man in the bed next to you when he just said fantastic, or just those very little things that we often take for granted that are so powerful.
I think you're right, and I think if the last 12 months hasn't taught us anything else, it's probably taught us that actually maybe we should start to respect things in a different manner. Maybe we should start to appreciate things in a different way. I think when you have everything stripped away from you and you have to start again, you certainly appreciate things in a different light. Yeah. For me, before my injury, without sounding rude, I was very fast. I probably sometimes I think I could have been quite ignorant to things, because everything came so quickly and I could obtain things quite quickly. I don't think I always really appreciated those things. After my injury now, because I'm a lot slower in many ways, more ways than one, you have to appreciate, you see things from a different perspective and a different light.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I was very excited to hear that you said you took your boy to the training field yesterday. Can you tell us a bit about your family,
I suppose from my mum's point of view, I think she would rather put her head in her hands than come and watch my boy train or be part of it, because I just don't think she could. And I get that. I totally understand that. For me, I'll support my children in whatever they do 100%. And if he wants to play rugby league, then I will support him. If he wants to play chess, I will support him. If he wants to go and do what, I'll support him. But I do think there's elements to it that potentially, they can hurt people. You can upset people, not purposely, but certain things can drag back memories and drag back thoughts and feelings. And I think sometimes you have to be aware of that. Yeah. So it's not a case of saying, come on, watch. No. Sometimes you just got to get on with things under the radar, sort of thing.
But you've clearly proven the doctors wrong, because you're talking about your family. Tell us a bit. We have a bit of curiosity. Tell us a bit about your family, your current family now.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, I guess from that time when I was kind of diagnosed to not having very much to look forward to, when I got out of hospital, I kind of went about my business, thinking, would I really get anything of that again? It didn't look like it. But when I got out, it was quite funny, because I remember going out on a night out with some friends. I'm in my wheelchair and I was feeling really low, and I didn't like the way I looked, and I didn't think that anybody would want to speak to me. And it was completely opposite. I was met with so much warmth from all sides, and people who didn't even know me, they'd seen it on the newspaper or they'd seen it in different bits of news and what have you. And that gave me a real boost in confidence. Yeah. And when I met my wife, You know, I remember we had a bit of a joke and a laugh in a bar. I think I asked her how did I get her number in my phone, and something on the lines, and she said, "You're not going to give up your chair for a lady." And I said, "I'll give you my chair if you give me a kiss," sort of thing. And there's that little bit of banter that would have been like it before my injury, but then I never thought I'd have that again. And so once you kind of get that feeling again, you kind of. My wife always says to me that she never sees the chair with me; she just sees me, and I think to a degree that's probably how we've kind of looked and handled things as a family. You know, before we got the children, you know, we managed in ways that probably other people they might have seen it as a total no, but we never let anything phase us. And when I got involved with doing different charities and different things and events that I never thought possible, that again proved to me that actually in life nothing's impossible. You know, when I think about the probably the biggest feature for me was the family and that sort of thing. You know, when I was told I'd never have children, and yet I've got a beautiful little girl and a stunning little boy, and they're both naturally conceived too, so I'm dead chuffed about that. So there's lots of plus sides to areas that when you think you're never going to have it again, when things happen, you know, hour later I was so happy. I was over at moon, and to get 2 children, a little boy and a little girl, you know, it couldn't be any more ideal and perfect, really.
That's lovely.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
It's making me cry. Yeah.
Wow. Jimmy, I just want to ask you, you know, you mentioned nothing's impossible, and I think that's your strap line in life, which in itself is incredibly inspiring. Can you give us a snapshot of some of the things that you have done since the accident, since the rehabilitation? I know that you've done some extraordinary things. Perhaps you can share a few of your achievements and accomplishments with the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rehabilitation has been part of my life, and I was very lucky that the physiotherapist that looked after me in hospital is now my business partner. We formed a specialist rehab unit together in order to help people going forward, and that led me into some of the challenges that we've done since. And one guy in particular, a guy called Steve Prescott, was a former player who was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given just 6 months to live, and he decided to go out and raise the bar and raise money and raise awareness for criticised cancer research in Manchester. And I took part in many challenges with Steve. Little walks from Hull to Old Trafford to deliver the ball to the grand final. We came up through France on bikes. I did it on an adaptive quad bike with another colleague of mine. We crossed the English Channel. We came up the River Thames on a dragon boat with the likes of Johnny Vegas, the comedian. We'd do numerous marathons, half marathons, and I became the second person to uncycle from one end of the country to other in a record time of 11.5 days in La Jog. And all these things that actually, when we were told we wouldn't and shouldn't do, we went and did them to prove to people, not for medals and for trophies, but to prove to people that even when you think there's no alternatives or there's no options, there's always an alternative, there's always an option. Sometimes you just have to do things differently to what you would have perceived it as being done first time. But like I say, yeah, there's nothing there's nothing I've got stuck at doing. There's a few airy moments. There's a few moments where we might have got lost or we've had a few incidents. But that's part and parcel. If you're not testing yourself, if you're not pushing yourself, then I don't think you're really giving it 100%. You know, you've got to try and push those comfort zones out of the way completely, and also break down some of these stigmas where we think that because of a certain situation it puts us in a certain place. I disagree totally. I think that every place is open to all of us if we're prepared to look at it and see it in that light.
Fantastic. Wow. Couldn't agree with you more.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Very inspiring, Jimmy. Very inspiring. I want to ask you one final question, and that is, you know, you mentioned about the pandemic. It's been exceptionally long and trying, and many people have struggled with mental health. And for many of them, it's the first time they've really struggled with mental health issues. What is it that you could advise them or give them in terms of a tool or a means to be able to deal and to overcome that great hurdle, that wall of mental health challenges that they are facing?
I think sometimes we give ourselves maybe too greater expectations. And when there's adversity strikes or when things, of uncertain outcomes, and which is obviously what's happened in the last 12 months. Maybe some of us had this expectation that this thing was just going to come and go. Mm-hmm. And sometimes adversity and things don't always work that way. Life is not linear. It's very much up and down like a roller coaster. And sometimes it keeps rolling that way, and we just want to get off, but we can't. We've got to hold on tight and wait for it to complete its cycle and finish. And so I always talk about discipline your disappointment. Try and look at something and think, do you know what? This is going to be a tough situation, but we'll get through it. We will get through it. We've got to stick in with it. We've got to knuckle down, and we've got to put a bit of perspective into it and see things for what it is. And again, going back to that thing of sticking together and unifying, if we do that, the whole world has been affected by this thing. And to a large degree, I think the whole world has come together in many, many ways. We've learned different things. We've learned from one another. I know there's been sometimes there's bad press out there, isn't there? There's people that will do different things for different reasons, and I don't want to go into that. My big belief is that actually, when we come out of this, we'll actually come out of it better people. I genuinely believe that, because I'm an optimist, and I believe that's how life should turn. It has a funny way of showing you things. You don't see it straight away, and it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be next week, it might be next year, it could be, whoever knows, but it does work out one way or the other.
Wow, I love that saying. Discipline your disappointments.
Discipline your disappointments. That way, then I think if you can do that, you can put things into a much easier perspective.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Jimmy, we've learned so much from you. I want to thank you. I want to ask you one final point, and that is, do you want to share with us one hope, one ambition that you have? You sound as somebody who's very, very ambitious and motivated. Any plans for the future which we should be looking out for?
Well, I mean, I'm getting a little bit older now, so some of the bizarre challenges might be a little bit out of reach at the moment. But I think for me, my ambition is to not lose ambition. To be able to make my kids proud, and to keep my family with a smile on their face, and just for us all to get through all this, to be quite honest, I think for me would be a big achievement for everybody, and I genuinely do believe that people will come out of it for the better. And so to answer your question, for me, I just want the best for everybody and for everything, really, and just to realise that life is full of so many things that it's so worth living. When we despair, when we drop into a dark place, just don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on things. Believe in yourself. Back yourself, and allow other people sometimes to put your trust into people, know a little bit more about what they're doing than what you do, and allow people to give you a bit of direction. And I think by doing that, you can achieve anything you want. Anything is possible.
Wow, it's been an honor, a privilege. I feel I could listen to your wisdom for the next couple of hours. We have time limitations, but you are phenomenal, and I wish you all the strength to continue doing what you're doing, because you are light amongst all of us. So
thank you very much, Keela. Thank you,
Jimmy. On behalf of all our viewers and the community, we truly appreciate you taking time out to join us this evening and sharing your remarkable story and extraordinary accomplishments. And we wish you, as we say in Hebrew, bracha v'hatzlacha, blessing and success in all your endeavors. And you have an open invitation whenever you come to London. We would love to have you as our guest. Wishing you the very best.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
All the very best. Thank you, guys. Look after yourself and take care.
All the best.
And you.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye.